To the Odds and Audibles podcast. I'm Matt Prehm, Eric Scopel on the show, and we've got some breaking news. So we're going to dive right into this. The Oregon men's basketball program has secured another verbal commitment this offseason ahead of the 2021-2022 season, and Dana Altman has struck JUCO gold once again, landing junior college All-American Rivaldo Soares out of South Plains College in the state of Texas, a guy that just received his 24/7 Sports ranking, and he is rated as the 10th best junior college prospect nationally and the third best shooting guard in the country at that JUCO level. He is a three-star prospect. We're the only company out there right now that's got a ranking on Rivaldo Soares, and if you look at this and think 3 stars, well, that's pretty standard for JUCO guys. In a very rare instance will you see a guy become a 4-star player. But nonetheless, another All-American in a very good league at the highest level of JUCO basketball is joining the mix, and Rivaldo Soares. And Eric, he's expected to basically come in and try and replace the production that's now lost with the graduation of D1 All-American, former JUCO Player of the Year, Chris Duarte.
And I was just going to put into context, and it's a nice transition here. Duarte was also a 3-star prospect based on the 247 composite. He was also the number 1 rated player in JUCO, but was still a 3-star. It's hard to get that 4th star. I like this fit. I don't think he's Chris Duarte good. I just want to put that out there to start. I don't think you're getting a guy who's going to eventually be like a Pac-12 Player of the Year caliber guy. Like, this is probably maybe best case he's going to be an all-conference guy at some point. But I think this is somebody who at least presents some of the similar things you lost with a Duarte: shooting ability, shot making. I think defensively, you don't necessarily see the same level of activity, but at least similar body types and athleticism. And there are some, I've got a film review up on duckterritory.com from some highlights that were posted less than a month ago from his sophomore season at South Plains. And it's primarily offense, but there are some instances where you see some impressive defensive stuff. So I don't think he's like all conference defense guy either, but he's not going to be a liability, I don't think, unless the effort's just not there. And that's kind of hard to judge based upon highlight footage.
From a perspective, go ahead. What more did you see on film?
I was just going to say, I thought the guy can really shoot it. And so I think that's probably where he helps you the most right away.
Yes, that's right where I was going. This is a guy that he played 2 years of JUCO ball, 50 total games, and he started 42 of those 50. And he played for South Plains College. It's in Texas, and this is historically a really good program, one that every year is ranked, and they play in a really tough league. And for the 2020-2021 year, his team was the number 1 team in the country for basically the entire year. They were the number 1 team, I think, week 3, and they stayed that way all the way into conference tournament season when they got upset in the quarterfinals or semifinals, of that tournament. So you're talking about probably the best player on the best JUCO team coming to Oregon, which is always a good thing. 15.2 points per game this past year. He shot 45.5% from the field, 34.5% on threes. He as a freshman, almost nearly identical shooting numbers. So that's really good to see that it wasn't just a really good season for him. It was consistency. You got that every game over a 50-game period from him. From a rebounding perspective, he was really good this past season, 6.8 rebounds a game. He just committed 1.7 fouls per game while averaging just under a steal a game. So he's not fouling a ton, which is a really good thing to see as well. And then, like you said, offensively, he's probably a little bit better there. He had 2.5 assists a game, an assist turnover ratio of 1.1, which is really solid for a shooting guard. And here's the caveat, Eric. And the thing that I like the most about this commitment is he's coming to Oregon as a sophomore. He will not be your traditional junior. He has said he's coming to Eugene. He's going to take advantage of that extra year the NCAA is giving you because of COVID-19 during the 2020-2021 season. So unlike Duarte, he comes to Oregon with 3 years to play 3 years, which is really, really big for me and just long-term piece. This is a guy that will help Oregon, I think, tremendously during this upcoming year, but is also a guy that you can kind of build around for the next 2 or 3 seasons in Eugene.
Yeah, it seems like what we see with Dana Altman a lot with some of these guys. You get someone with 2 to 3 years of eligibility, and they come in not expecting to be immediate contributors, but there's a
Right.
long-term plan. And I feel like Suarez's best games are going to be played in like 2022, 3 and beyond.
Right.
And that's not to say he can't impact things right now, but probably just isn't going to be a situation where he's going to have the same opportunity he might have the following year. I mean, Oregon could lose, and there's still, we should say that we're going to get to this in a second. They're still going to add some pieces here, so a lot of this is
Right.
up in the air. But like the guys that are clearly on the team right now, a lot of the key players on the perimeter could be gone after next season, and that's probably when Suarez has his biggest impact. At the same time, like I don't know, is he a starter? Possibly not, but is he somebody who I think could come off the bench and average 8-9 points a game and be a microwave scorer and impact things defensively? Sure, and that's a very valuable asset when you're trying to build teams, because with the transfer market the way it is, it's hard to get guys to buy in when they're not going to be the go-to guy. And like you said, the fact that it sounds like Suarez is aware of the circumstances and is intending to be here for the long haul, I think that indicates the right kind of fit, because Oregon badly needs some longevity and the turnover the last couple of off seasons. I know it's not unusual, but just to have those commitments kind of, ahead of time of like, I'm going to be here 2 or 3 years. That's very valuable. Now you just hope that's the way it actually plays out.
And that's the thing I like most about Rivaldo Suarez in his game. If you go watch Eric's film review, you see a guy like, I see a scenario that plays out that's really good and highly likely of happening where he's a starter, where he plays and starts 31 of 31 games that Oregon plays in the regular season, and is a guy that could be in contention for, newcomer of the year, not the freshman of the year, but the transfer or the JUCO guy, like this instance of JUCO of the year, or newcomer of the year. And I also see a scenario in which maybe it plays out where he wins sixth man of the year, and you look at this and say like, hey, you're here for 3 years. We think you're going to be a really good player, but we think it's best for our team where if you come off the bench as that sixth man, and we give, you're a starter, you get starter minutes, but some of this time on the court, you're going to go up against, teams backups, and you're going to feast because they're not going to be near your level of competition. And I think that's what makes Oregon so good year in and year out, is they have these guys that come off the bench that are starter quality dudes. And Rivaldo Suarez could be that next guy this upcoming year, where it's like, boy, he would start for 9 out of the other 11 teams in the league, but Oregon's just so good. He comes off the bench. Like, that's how I look at it. He could be a starter, or he could be in that 6th man of the year contention.
All right, Matt, let's not talk about whether we just mentioned he could start, he could not start. It's hard to know because they're still putting the team together. All right, what's your kind of, you don't have to name everything and how this is going to play out, because Matt, I know you're connected here, you're dialed in. I don't want you to burn your sources by saying all the names and how it's going to play out, but like how many pieces are they going to take, and kind of what's your confidence level this is going to come together the way people are hoping it does?
I would look at this and think they probably want 2 or 3 more guys to add into this mix. The third, if they do add 3, it's going to have to be like a, hey, we have to take this guy. He's a 5-star or one of the top available transfers.
Right.
We have to take him. So I think that's probably how they get to 3. More realistically, it's probably, can you go out and get 2 guys? And I think you want a guy that can be a ball handler, distributor, creator, kind of a hybrid guy. Can play point, can play guard. It can guard both positions. Ideally, that would help Will Richardson and Davion Harmon a little bit. You want 3 ball handlers on the team, and right now they've probably got, I would say, 2.5. I would say Rivaldo Suarez is that half. Eric Williams could potentially be another half of a ball handler type guy, but you really want to bring in a third ball handler. I think the most logical guy that for Oregon that fits that criteria is probably Jacob Young, the younger brother of former Duck Joe Young. Transfer from Rutgers, had a really good senior season. He's taking advantage of the extra free year. And so that probably makes the most sense. There's a couple high school freshman guys, including a 5-star freshman that's looking at Oregon that hasn't decided on a school. There's a couple transfers out there that are kind of combo guards that makes sense as well. But right now, I think from perfect standpoint, Jacob Young would probably be that perfect guy to bring in. So if you could get Jacob Young, that's probably step number one. And then your second thing that you need to accomplish is you want to bring in a guy that can play kind of that guard forward hybrid role, kind of like what we saw with LJ Figueroa. To an extent, with what we saw with Eugene Almarui, he played more forward center hybrid, but he had some ability to play on the perimeter. So you want to bring in that 6'6", 6'7", 6'8" type of a guy, someone who could give Oregon minutes at 4 and then jump down to the 3 spot. And then if Oregon really wanted to go small and really ultra athletic, could give you 5 minutes at the center spot.
Right.
That's kind of what they're looking for. And I think would be, the best of the bunch if you could find something like that. And there are options out there. You can go to duckterritory.com for more on names there. But that's kind of the best case scenario. Get those two, ideas, position, players locked in, and then it's reassess. Okay, got those two guys in. Is there a guy that's out there still that says we have to add this guy to make ourselves better for 2021, 2022, or beyond? And also look at it and say, okay, like this guy's available, but is there anyone in the 2022 recruiting class that's comparable or better than him? And if there are, that could lead to Oregon just holding that scholarship, sticking with the team that they've got now, and rolling with it. Because with Sora's addition, Eric, it really feels like now, A, they've got 9 guys on roster now, and B, it really feels like they've got a bunch of options with some wings, with some guards, and you add in 5-star Nate Biddle, you add in former 4-star Isaac Johnson joining the team, and now all of a sudden you've got 4 guys that are in that 7-foot range, and then you've got 4 guys or 5 guys that are in that 6'3" to 6'7", 6'8" range that can play a whole bunch of different positions.
Yeah, this team is going to be different than last year's team already. And the funny part is that they actually had the big guys, and now they're finding the perimeter guys, where last year they didn't have very many big guys. I just think we talk about it with football in terms of being able to play different personnel packages. And we just did a podcast, earlier on that. And I just kind of like, hey, there's some guys that maybe Oregon wants to play a bunch of 4 wide out sets, and they played 2 tight end sets. I think basketball team has the versatility to do similar things where, based upon matchups, based upon what's been successful in previous games, you could see them rotating through a variety of different places. And it's versatile players like Soares who could probably play a couple of different spots, 2, 3, maybe he could go 4 in a pinch if needed to. That sort of versatility, I think, is really valuable.
Yeah, that's the thing, is versatility and finding guys that can do, a couple different things and go from there. But this team is, as Eric, I think, is set up where in a perfect scenario, if they can add Jacob Young and find one more forward type guy, look, maybe I'm jumping the gun here a little bit, but I really think they're in a position as of now, without adding anybody else, where I think their chances of winning a 3rd straight league title are pretty good. They're probably not going to be the favorite. That'll be UCLA, but they'll be number 2. And then if they can add a Jacob Young, and if they can add another piece to this puzzle, they take another jump and get closer to being equal to UCLA. And honestly, looking at it, like, this Oregon team could be Elite 8, Final 4 type good if they can add 1 or 2 more pieces. They're that close to getting back to that 2016, 2017 team where they're fully loaded.
And they certainly have the 5-star talent in the front court, which is always going to help you win basketball games. And the guy like Soares, who they just added, I love the fit in terms of what they need right now.
All right, that's going to do it for us here on this edition of the Odds and Audibles podcast. Make sure to like and subscribe to us on YouTube as well. We're there. It's always free. And most importantly, go to duckterritory.com, sign up for your VIP membership for $1 for your first month. Get all the scoop, be in the know ahead of all the news of all things Oregon Ducks athletics. Until we talk to you again, you've been listening to the Odds and Audibles podcast.
Talk to you later, folks.